Happy Self Love Sunday. I am Mo Sass, the host of Self Love Sundays with Sass. I am your certified vision and empowerment coach who loves to come every single Sunday to talk about all the ways in which we can better our best. And do you know most people don't realize that our bodies can hold unprocessed, unhealed, and unintegrated trauma within our bodies? So a lot of times I'm working with clients and they are experiencing low back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, and they don't even realize it's because they have held so many things within that they've never spoke about. Any and all skeletons in the closet, whether you've caused the skeletons or not, if you never fully release those things out of your mouth, release them out of your mind, therefore it's not being released outside of your body. So that's what we're talking about today, the importance of release. Because according to the US Department of Veteran Affairs, roughly 90% of adults have experienced at least one trauma within their life. And the thing is, because that number is so high, most people will experience trauma and never speak about it, never let it out. So what happens is they think, well, I'm just going to go on, I'm just going to deal with it, I'm not going to say anything about it, never realizing that that very thing has affected every movement they've made in their life. It's created because your brain does that, right? The brain is designed to keep us safe. So if that means keeping us in fear, if that means keeping us in lack, if it means keeping us from making a move, that's exactly what it will do. So that's why it's so important for us. And I want to be clear too that when I talk about release, this is just one way. Okay. So technically, I want to really back up a minute. I am going to talk about some of the ways that you can practice release, but I want to put a disclaimer up front. I am not saying that every pain in your body is a result of trauma, but I do know that because of trauma, it can store up in your body. It can cause short term disabilities within the body and long term dis-ease in the body. Because what is dis-ease? It's dis-ease, right? In your body. So that's why it is so important that if you have experienced anything in your life, and this is what I like to call it, if you have any skeletons in your closet, whether you cause the skeletons or not, it is going to be vital for you to release that stuff. It's time to release it. There's no more dealing. This is about releasing into the atmosphere so we can heal it. And also, it's important to understand who and where you can release to. It's you have to get yourself in a safe container. You have to be able. Not everyone deserves your story. I will say that you have to have discernment. Okay, but it's important. I like to practice release daily. Why? Because there is always life stays lifing, okay, and people stay peopling, and that means there's always going to be something that's going to bother you. There's going to always be something that maybe should be said that you feel like you don't want to say. And it happens every single day of our lives. Doesn't mean that we have unhappy, unfulfilled, unsatisfying lives. But if you continue on the path of not speaking the things that needs to be spoken, if you continue on the path of holding everything back and holding everything in because you want to either people please or you're afraid of what people are going to think of you, or you have any sort of shame and guilt, unforgiveness, all of that stuff that you are just holding in, if you do not release it, stores in your body. Think about it. Listen, I understand it because I've went through that. Went to the doctor. I'm thinking all these things are wrong with me. I'm taking all these tests. And this is back when I was teaching fitness, because I used to teach fitness for 10 years. And, my body was together. I was always working out, right? So then I was like, well, maybe I'm working out too much. All these things, but everything but understanding that it had nothing to do with any of that. It had to do with I was still holding on to some traumas that had happened with me, to me, and even some that I've caused. I like to be clear on one thing, okay? We all have been a victim and have also made someone else a victim to our mess. I'm going to say it again. We have all been victims and made someone a victim to our mess. No one is exempt from that. I'm not a person that walks around and acts as if I've never caused trauma to someone else in their life. I know I have. I know I have. And you know how I know? It's because when I didn't love me, number one, and I didn't know what I want. Number two, I didn't know what I deserved, right? When you don't know that stuff, you wreak havoc all over the place because you're consistently in search of who you are. Then you'll jump in relationships and realize quickly that you're dissatisfied. You that was a filler. You didn't really like it. Real talk, it was a filler at the time. When you don't love yourself, you'll find yourself leaping in all sorts of situations. And I'm going to speak to, because I know this is not just true for women, because I have male clients, especially when you are a healer. Oh, you think you can love it out of them? You know how much trauma you cause you jump in a relationship trying to love something out of somebody? Because what end up happening? You realize that it takes them to love themselves to want to ever change, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So what happens is you eventually leave them, and they don't understand why you're leaving, and you're like, well, I really got with you for the potential of who I saw you to be and not who you were. Oh, my beautiful people, when we get into relationships for potential, thinking that, if they just do this and if they just do that, and if I can just tweak this and I can just tweak that. See, this is what happens when we don't release. This is what happens when we don't love ourselves. This is what happens when we don't want to do the work. Because it wasn't, I always say that when I talk about loving yourself, that it is simple yet not easy. And because it takes a lot of work, it takes you to work through the skeletons that is within the closet. I walk around as such a free woman today, and being able to coach the way that I am. And I believe this is why my clientele has changed to where I am with the high-end clients now, because I don't have one skeleton, and I can say this freely on video in front of the world. You can go dig up whatever you want to dig up about me. I don't even care no more. And the reason why I don't care no more is because I've done the work. I've told my worst secrets. I have my worst to people that was in the safe container programs that I've gone through for release. My significant other, he knew my worst, well, the person that I was with knew my worst secret. And if it got told today, there's some friends, why did I do that? Because when I released it into the atmosphere, I released it first in a safe container, right? Where in a safe container, let me tell you what that means. That's my therapist. I released it there first. Then I went to a larger program where I had to release it in a room. It was like maybe 15 people in the room to tell my secret, my dark shame. Did that, right? And so what that did was it allowed me to be free enough to release it to some of my friends. And then it allowed me to be free enough to release it in, a relationship that I was in, right? I did that because now if it came out, I'd be like, well, I'm the one who told it. I was brave enough. I was courageous enough to speak my truth. I was brave enough and courageous enough to let those skeletons out my closet. And what it does for me, even now as I continue on my healing journey, because again, it's a journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Please stop this. I went to the therapist for, a month and everything is all healed. Okay, you could tell that story to someone who doesn't know any better. Not the truth. It took me years to unpack most of the layers that I've unpacked. So, and I'm talking about years of therapy, 8-9 years of even understanding how to release it, how to tell your story, right? In such a way that it's not damaging to you all over again. Because when we start to speak about those things, our bodies, our minds start to feel as if we are in that place. That's why you hear people like Abraham Hicks, if you're into the law of attraction, talks about not speaking that stuff again. Because the reason being is it puts you right back in that place as if it's happening to you all over again. But the problem is when you don't speak it, when you don't let it out, you store it. Now, I don't believe in just telling the story over and over again for the sake of telling the story. I believe that if you are in the testimonial phase, if you're testifying about the where you've come from and where you are going to, right? You use it as a healing tool, it's absolutely okay because that's deliverance for somebody. But it's not just to be woe is me and oh poor me and oh no, that's not, we're not doing that. But that's why it's important to release. And when you go to focus therapy, it'll help you understand how to do it and then structure and it's like a structure in a way to do it. But I understand that everybody is not yet ready to step into therapy. I talk about it a lot because I want to normalize it. I want to normalize therapy for my people. I want to normalize therapy for all people, but particularly for the African American community who loves to shy away from that sort of help. It's not, it's just like anything else. It's about finding the right relationship. It's not that therapy doesn't work, it's that you weren't in the right relationship with the therapist that can help you. Right? And a lot of times people want to go in and manipulate the therapist and not be honest. Why are we going? People, help me, Lord. It's about taking the time to do the research to find the right therapist for you. And there's therapists that specialize in different things. Like I had a grief therapist to help me work through the pain of burying both my sons and help me work through the pain of losing my aunt, who was like a sister to me. So it's different therapists. I have a EFT therapist that's tapping therapy. So she helped me recognize where the pain was actually stored in my body. She helped me understand and see where it was stored in my back. So it was going through those therapists that had those specializations, right? That helped me understand how to walk through. And it's the same for life coaches. We're not all created equal. I am great with vision, creating a personal vision statement for your life, and setting up the structure of the vision for your life and helping you create the steps to get there. I know that I am tasked. To help people release their gifts so that they won't make the graveyard any richer than it already is by dying with their gifts. And here's the thing. What really catapulted me into this is not just the fact of burying my son who, was taken from us at 25 years old. I had someone who I deeply loved and adored, and I promised that I will always speak his name. His name is Kasim Chandler. He passed away in 2018. I think it was like 2018. I'm sorry, I always forget whether it's 2018 or 2019. And it completely changed my life. Why? He had written a book, and the title of the book was called Black Cat, that I read that he never published. And I remember trying to push him to publish it. And he's really truly one of my angels in my life because he actually sparked me writing again. He was the one who actually pushed me into speaking, And it was because of that relationship that it really catapulted a lot of things in my life. Now, it wasn't the only thing, but it was a special part. And why am I saying that? It's because, it's okay to give people their flowers. They may not have completely formed and shaped who you are, but some people play a part in that. And he played an intricate part in me doing some of the things that I'm doing now. And I realized that when he passed, and this is why it was so hard for me when he did, that graveyard became so rich because he was brilliant. When I tell you he was brilliant, his literary work was off the charts. And he left with the world never being able to experience that, never being able to leave that legacy. And that's what I'm tasked with. When people work with me, we get those gifts out there, put them out there to the world in the way that their gift is shaped and formed, right? Because I have a person who is a top realtor, in my area. You know what I'm saying? And because of what we're working through, you can just see his gift shining through, not just at his office, but in his home when he talks about how it turned his marriage around. That's my gift, right? And I am determined that the graveyard will not be richer. So I'm going to keep releasing my gift into the atmosphere. Keep releasing my gift so that it can open other people up. I hope that the words that I speak out of my mouth opens up the person who listens so that you can leave your gift here. It's not about working with me. Please hear me. It's about the hope and the belief that what I'm speaking to you about, releasing these things out of your body, therefore it's going to release it out of your mind. Therefore you're going to no longer be bound to your past so that you can be present, so that your future can be bright, so that you can leave a legacy for your children's children. Will your great-great-great-grandchildren know who you are? Because you've decided to release those things that are holding you back so that you can no longer live in lack, so that you can no longer live in fear, so that you can step outside your comfort zone and take risks. We were born to take risk. We were not born to play it safe. From the time, think about it. How are we able to learn to crawl so to then walk? We have to take a risk as a baby, okay? You have to take a risk to realize, okay, can I stand up and do this? You know how many times you have to fall down before you completely start walking as a toddler? That's a risk. But because of life's traumas and the things that happen to us, we stop taking the risk and we're playing it safe. And because of the skeletons and because of the trauma, the sexual abuse that happens to both men and women that are passed down into generations that no one ever talked about, because of all the secrets that are left untold and unsaid, and all the people who lacked and didn't have people to surround them, to comfort them, to instead nix their feelings and emotion off. And this is why it's so important to get yourself in a safe container when you speak it, and get around people who are going to love on you and lift you high. People who are going to validate your feelings, not dismiss them. That's why you don't speak. I understand that. Because you're around people who dismissed how you felt. People who understood the people in the family that did the things they did to you, whether they touched you or demeaned you or did any sort of thing that hurt you, and they walked you back in around those same family members and told you to get over it. And those are the things that you're storing in your body. The very first time that a man used you for your body, and you didn't even understand that you were giving yourself away to him for love, and didn't understand that had nothing to do with love. And now you're holding other men accountable for that. And the same with men. That very first woman who broke your heart, and it could have very well been your mother. And now every woman that you meet pays for that. You're paying for it. You're paying for it. Because you're not getting in the proper places to heal it. You're not releasing it. Instead, you're making everyone else pay. And I'm going to tell you something about that. People like to talk about karma. Karma is both good and bad. Just because you're not paying then doesn't mean you don't ultimately pay. And just because you may have a little bit of money doesn't mean that you don't have to pay. Here's how you pay. Peace. The peace of mind. The disease, the depression, the anxiety. That's payment, honey. There's not enough money that anybody could give me to disturb the peace that I have. It's the peace. That's what a lot of people are searching for. It's peace. Yeah, the thing is, like, go find all the people that made the money. Because I'm after wealth too. I'm not. Why? Because it's all about legacy for me. But I'm not willing to sell my soul for it. I'm not willing to kill people for it. And you don't have to do it that way. You don't. So back to ways to release. If you haven't opened yourself up to a therapist or have not taken that leap of faith yet, there's mindfulness practices that you can do. So the very first thing you can do, of course, is therapy. Okay? If the trauma is not that bad, because not everybody experiences the worst set of trauma, actually walking through things, and I've walked through things as a life coach with my clients, right? So on releasing certain things so that they can get to their purpose. And, because they're out here searching. And that's the other thing too. My client was like, well, I don't have a passion, and everybody doesn't have a passion. I said nothing about passion. I said walking into your purpose, because when you walk into that purpose, it breeds passion. That's all. I'm passionate about this thing. I'm passionate about my purpose. And how do you know? It's because it's the thing that you'll do so freely without a dime of money. I do this freely. This is my purpose. This is what God tasked me with, to use my voice and the wisdom that he gave me to release people from the chains that bind them. Okay? So again, if you, no life coach, no therapist, no life coach, mindfulness practices such as yoga and meditation. And meditation doesn't always have to be still or quiet meditation. As a matter of fact, I believe that yoga and fitness is a form of meditation. It's a form of moving your body. So you want to get your body into some sort of movement and flow. so that it can start to release. And it's so beautiful when you do it, y'all. You can see me actually moving because I love to practice mindfulness, meditation, and movement in yoga. Also, breath work. I do a thing called 5-5-5. And that's where I take 5 minutes out of my day and do five very deep inhalations to the point where my stomach always it expands as a balloon. And then I exhale for a count of five. So inhale for a count of five, exhale for a count of five. And I do this for 5 minutes a day, particularly if I'm anxious or something, and that could be because of work, or if I'm feeling myself getting stressed or bothered about something that's happening. Sometimes clients, honey, can drive me a little bit crazy, and I choose not to be driven to any sort of liquor bottle. I choose not to drink it away, sex it away, drug it away. So I get into breath work, healthy practices. Okay. So that's one way. Again, staying away from excessive alcohol and caffeine. You really, really want to stay away from excessive alcohol and caffeine. You create healthy habits. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Eating healthy meals, eating clean. What do I mean by eating clean? Eating foods that die quickly. Anything that can be stored for long periods of time is typically not healthy for you. Okay, so think about things with shelf life. Typically not healthy for you. Think about the amounts of sodium that they have to use to store that and or chemicals, right? So think about things that, healthy leafy greens, fiber, if you eat meat, certain proteins, think about, that, right? So again, number one, therapist, life coach, mindfulness practices, healthy eating habits. All right. Again, move your body. The biggest thing to remember is when it comes to release, is you want to speak it out loud in a safe container. You want to write it, journal it, get it out, everything that you've ever wanted to say. I've been in situations where there's things I couldn't say to my mother or my father, or people I've broken up with, or old friends. I have written everything I ever wanted to say. Everything I ever wanted to say. And if you feel like that you were worried about somebody finding the journal, if you put your deep dark secrets in it, burn it. And when you burn it. If you want to get into a safe space outside, and you burn it, and as you're burning it, just say, I release this. I release this from my mind. I release this from my body. I release this from my heart. I release this from my spirit. I release this from my soul. I release this. I release it, never to return again. Speak it out loud. Command what you want from that. Okay? So again, speak it, write it, and then move your body. Okay? You want to move. Get into some sort of yoga. Get into some sort of exercise. Walk. Listen, walk. Move your body. There is no excuse anymore. There's people on YouTube who, there's this great guy, and I can't think of his name, where he teaches people how to do cardio in a chair. So if you can't physically walk, there's people out there to teach you chairs. I used to teach that too. When my ex-husband had cancer, I used to teach him fitness from the chair. Move your body. Release it. Okay? And I don't care if that means that you have to cry, kick, scream. Listen, get a pillow, put it over your face, scream, let it out. Get it out however you need, so that you can be healthy, so that you can be whole, so that you can heal, so that you can walk in your purpose. Therefore, living very passionately. Life can be beautiful if you allow it. Get yourself into a community. I talked about that last week. And if you don't have a community, www.moesass.com. Just join my mailing list. I'm not telling you to apply for any of my services. Join my mailing list and join my community. Right? If you want to reach out to me, info@mosass.com, info@moesass.com. You can always message me on Instagram and Facebook. Any question that you have, any topics that you would like for me to talk about, because I want you to really walk into the new season of your life knowing that everything you desire that you can have. You can have a genuine smile on your face, not just sometime, but majority of the time. I smile 80%, y'all. Because I'm honest about 20% life be life, and I've lost people that I loved. You know what I mean? I have to walk this earth without, old friends that I still truly love and I hold on to. That's just my personality. I have a deep loyalty to people that, again, I worked on learning how to be loyal and love myself. I want you to love you. I want you to care for you. I want you to leave legacy, even if you don't have children. Whether so, it could be still be legacy for your niece and nephews, or for the family that you go out and create. All family is not blood, and all family isn't created equal. I have family in my life that is not blood as well. I love you. I love you. I love you. I hope you have the most amazing Sunday, and I will talk to you next week. Release.